Once upon a time, in a small, bustling town nestled between rolling green hills, there were two men who lived very different lives. One was Mr. Oliver Richman, a wealthy merchant known for his grand mansion and his impressive collection of fine things. The other was Mr. Henry Goodheart, a humble woodworker whose little cottage sat at the edge of the forest. Mr. Richman's mansion was a sight to behold. It had golden chandeliers, velvet curtains, and a garden where rare flowers from all over the world bloomed. His home was always filled with laughter, parties, and the chatter of his many guests. Despite his riches, Mr. Richman was known to be quite aloof. He enjoyed his wealth but rarely thought about sharing it with others. On the other side of town, Mr. Goodhart's cottage was simple and cozy. The wooden walls were decorated with hand-carved patterns, and the garden was full of vegetables and flowers he grew himself. Mr. Goodheart had a warm smile for everyone and was always ready to lend a helping hand, even though he had little to give. One crisp autumn day, the town announced a grand fair to celebrate the harvest. It was to be held in the town square, and everyone was excited. Mr. Richman planned to showcase his most exquisite collection of treasures, while Mr. Goodheart decided to set up a little stand where he would sell hand-carved wooden toys. As the fair day arrived, the town square was filled with colorful banners and stalls. Mr. Richman's stand was a marvel, with sparkling jewels and golden trinkets dazzling in the sunlight. People from all around gathered to admire his collection. Mr. Goodhart's stand was simple but charming, with wooden toys neatly arranged and a sign that read, "Handmade with love." The fair was in full swing, and Mr. Goodhart's stall was getting a lot of visitors, especially children who were excited by the wooden toys. However, Mr. Goodheart noticed that many of the children had no money to buy the toys. With a kind heart, Mr. Goodheart handed out toys to the kids, saying, "Take one if you like it. It's a gift from me." Meanwhile, Mr. Richman's stand was also crowded. He noticed the commotion around Mr. Goodhart's stall and couldn't help but feel a bit curious. His curiosity soon turned to concern when he saw children walking away from Mr. Goodhart's stall with happy faces but empty hands. "Why is Mr. Goodheart giving away his toys?" Mr. Richman wondered aloud. "He should be selling them to earn money." As the sun began to set, the fair started winding down. Mr. Richman decided to take a stroll around the square and found himself drawn to Mr. Goodhart's stall. He watched as Mr. Goodheart was packing up, his face tired but content. Mr. Richman approached him and said, "Mr. Goodheart, I've been watching you. You gave away many of your toys today. Aren't you worried about not earning any money?" Mr. Goodheart smiled warmly and replied, "Oh, I'm not worried at all. Seeing the joy on the children's faces is worth more to me than money. It's the happiness that counts." Mr. Richman was taken aback. He had never thought of happiness in such a way. "I must admit," he said slowly, "I don't really understand the value of giving. I have so much, but I never thought about sharing it." Mr. Goodhart's eyes twinkled. "Well, why not try it? Sharing doesn't always mean giving away what you have. It can also mean opening your heart to others." That evening, as Mr. Richman walked back to his mansion, he thought long and hard about Mr. Goodhart's words. He realized that while he had many fine things, he had never shared them with others. The idea of spreading joy and kindness intrigued him. The next morning, Mr. Richman decided to make a change. He began by inviting the townspeople, including Mr. Goodheart, to his mansion for a grand feast. The mansion, which had always been filled with opulence, was now filled with laughter and warmth as Mr. Richman and the townspeople enjoyed the meal together. During the feast, Mr. Richman took the opportunity to talk about his new idea. "I have realized that sharing can be as valuable as owning," he said. "I want to use my resources to help the town and make it a better place for everyone." With Mr. Goodhart's help, Mr. Richman started various community projects. They built a new playground for the children, renovated the town library, and even set up a scholarship fund for those in need. Mr. Richman found immense joy in these acts of kindness, and his mansion became a place of generosity and community spirit. Mr. Goodheart continued to create his beautiful wooden toys and shared them freely with the children, knowing that he had a new friend in Mr. Richman who understood the magic of sharing. The town flourished like never before. The rich and poor came together, not just for the fair or the festivities, but in their everyday lives. And while Mr. Richman's mansion remained grand, it was now a symbol of kindness and community, and Mr. Goodhart's cottage continued to be a haven of warmth and generosity. And so, in that small, bustling town, two men learned the true meaning of sharing and happiness. Their friendship became a tale told for generations, reminding everyone that the real magic in life comes from the joy of giving and the warmth of community. And they all lived happily ever after.